We are now trapped in the most secure hotel in probably Monaco because this is where all the F1 drivers store their cars. So back in 2015, or if I was to look at my whole spotting history of like my favorite cars I've spotted over the years and around the world, there's a lot. There's a lot. And like I was saying, with many cars that I haven't seen before, it takes a lot for me to really get excited. It sounds really bad, but because I'm with supercars so much, it takes a lot now to get me sprinting down the road for a certain car. But there's been some amazing spots. Quite recently, it was when I was at college. I got a text from a mate that one of the Arab princes was going to come over in a fleet of 6 hypercars. We were all like, oh my gosh, what's he going to bring and everything? And funny enough, the first person to film it in London, of course, had to be Shami. Regardless where he is in the world, he will always come back. And it was so great to see him, welcome him into London. And the guy brought over cars, you know, of course I've seen like the LaFerrari Aperta, Porsche 918, Regera, Wayra, but he brought over a Lamborghini Veneno Roadster, the one of 9. At that time, I have actually seen one. One did come to London on display, the one from the museum, but driving on the road of London on the streets. Now that was something that I couldn't miss. Monaco, I've had plenty of luck out there. I've been very fortunate to see a lot of cars. The unicorn of what we call in the car community, the unicorn of cars is like the rarest spots. So in Monaco, it would be Lewis Hamilton's Pagani Zonda LH, the one car everyone wants to see. And I've missed that on 4 occasions in literally under 24 hours. I've been so unlucky with that car and I'm still yet to see it. And again, that is one car I'm hoping to see in the future. So in Monaco, you'd spot until like 3 in the morning. So again, I woke up about 7 for a phone call and my mate was like, the Monaco edition Bugatti Veyron Vitesse has just come out. This car hasn't been seen in 2 years. It lives in the deep undergrounds. This is my time. Shoes straight on. I didn't even have a shower. I sprinted down and he parked it up, charging it via his yacht. Just Monaco things. So seeing that car again was a massive highlight in my whole car spotting history. Seeing that car, because again, like I was saying, that car hasn't been seen for years. But one which is quite a funny one, and I'm lucky to tell the story now, was only last month. Once again, I went out to Monaco and my mate was staying with a few friends in a separate part of Monaco, just outside, in a 5-star hotel. It's very secure. And it was sending me videos of this underground car park. It goes around the corner and there's a Lamborghini Reventon. And I was like, okay, I know which one this is. I know how rare it is. I know all the details to it. And I know this, again, hasn't been seen since Top Marks 2017, where I was actually in Monaco but missed it. So this was a big chance for me to see it. So I thought, how on earth am I going to get into this 5-star hotel? So of course, I don't give up on this kind of stuff. Being respectful of private garages or, you know, respecting everything, I thought, let's have a look. I had 2 of my mates with me. We went down to this hotel, we looked at it up and down. There's like a skyscraper and we thought, there's no way we can get in. Bizarrely, we walked around the corner of the hotel and this garage was just open. And we thought, oh, that's got red floor. And we thought, that's the same as a Reventon. And then all of a sudden, the shutter comes down. We realized a car had just gone in, so the shutter was up. And as soon as we've walked in, the shutters come down, and we are now trapped in the most secure hotel in probably Monaco, because this is where all the F1 drivers store their cars. Every door is key carded, coded, CCTV cameras are on every door, and we are now trapped in there. And I was like, right, I either cry and have a panic and be like, I'm stuffed, I've had it, or I go and find this car. I was gonna go find this car. So we went around, walked around, and there was, you know, you had Max Verstappen's Pista, you had Adrian Sutil's LaFerrari, they had all the rare cars dotted in a line. And then all of a sudden this door opened and it's one of the valet people. He didn't say a word to us. He was like, oh, good to see you here. Presuming he probably thought we were part of the hotel. And so we just followed him through one door and what's in front of us? The Reventon. And we couldn't believe it. My eyes lit up, my video camera was at the ready. And all of a sudden we hear over voices someone saying, what are you doing in here? And we thought, oh no, this is where we get caught. Luckily, this woman who was part of the hotel apartment, she was very friendly to us. And she has said that anyone's caught in here, you know, you get the police called up on you, you're not supposed to be in here. And this is one of the moments where we just didn't actually realise that my mate who got in before was with friends, hence why he was allowed in, and we'd walk straight through this door, not knowing the shutter was up, and we were trapped in here. And luckily for us, she let us out. But again, starting in 2015, one of the Arab princes again brought the Zonda Cinque 505 over. That was a big one. That's something that Shami filmed quite a lot, as he's always been over to London. He came in a convoy with an Arab Ferrari Enzo, F12, Pagani Huayra, and the Cinque, which of course is my top 5 cars of all time. I think it's, you can't beat a Zonda. That was incredible to see. A lot of events I'm going to, they showcase ridiculous rare cars. For me personally, my favourite car ever is the CLK GTR. Seeing that, that was a goosebump feeling. Hairs were up on my arms. I couldn't believe it. So, one of my recent trips to London, one car in particular, whilst filming for the documentary Spotting London Supercars, we filmed the unveiling of the new Lamborghini Sian in London. One of 63 made in the world. Only 3 have come to the UK. The other 2 have literally hidden away. This owner, who kindly unveiled it in front of all of us in HRO and Lamborghini, actually owns 2 of them. One in Miami, one in London. One being actually a roadster, one coupe. We saw it being unveiled, it caused chaos in London, absolutely. You'd have people sprinting after it. You'd have the public asking, is that someone famous? Does his car fly? Why are you chasing it? And it's a very special car. I love these hypercars. Every year, or before COVID, we would have a day where we'd get some of the American owners come over and they'd bring their cars over. So there's a big collectors where he'd bring his Koenigsegg Agera XS, so not the RS, he's got a special XS it's called, Pagani Huayra BC, Huayra, you name it. The London spotters, would all come, take photos, but a lot of the owners out there would organise like a 1-day hypercar rally in London where they would start at the Dorchester. So these guys have been starting to come over to the UK around about 2017, I would like to say. This was in 2019. This was one of the moments where it was literally Forza in real life. It felt like a video game. So the Dorchester is, again, one of the most famous London hotels, or where the luxury cars park up. And you literally had, from Paganis to Koenigseggs, the Apollo IE, Bugatti Grand Sport Vitesse with the number plate F1, rumoured to be around 15 million. You'd have such special cars where a Ferrari TDF would turn up and it wasn't allowed in the hotel because it was just hypercar heaven. And you'd have the rare Zondas, like the Zonda Uno, turquoise, one of one, made especially for, again, an Arab prince back in the day. The Zonda MD, which is now in America. And of course, the new Apollo IE, which sounds unreal. And that, again, set off every car alarm in London. But you'd have these all parked at the hotel, all lined up, all ready to leave. And that day was the craziest day of spotting ever. I think I could easily say there's around 2,000 spotters. Guards couldn't take all of us in there, so they were moving us out. They had to get bodyguards in, cars blocking the entrances, and then they'd set off doing their central London drive. The cars on that, and if you can Google it, the hypercar takeover in London, to see Paganis and Koenigseggs driving in London, that was something very special. That was very cool to see, and especially Zondas that are one of ones where, again, that's the only one in the world, driving with another one of one. Yeah, that was very cool. So if you would like to say the Mclaren F1 is probably the most legendary car of all time, probably the most expensive as well. Sadly, because I was too young at the time, back in 2017, I think, they had the 25th anniversary F1 tour, which all my mates got to go on. I was still at school at the time, so back of the class, I might have had my phone out watching the live stream of it going on. To me, if you see an F1, even at a car show, it's made your day, made your year. Seeing one on the road, that's when it's like you've hit the jackpot, you're at the end of the rainbow. And I've been lucky enough, as I believe, there's me saying about, I list cars, I reckon I've seen around 17 F1s. I've been very lucky enough. London's had quite a few over the car shows, quite a few F1 GTRs. I was lucky enough to be invited as a photographer at the Mclaren Technology Centre for a Cars and Coffee event. And of course, on display, they've got F1 and the XP5, I would like to believe to say. They've got the Mclaren F1 GTR LM, a car I've always wanted to see. Seeing an F1 is just one of the magical moments where you dream of seeing it. You'd drive it in Need for Speed or Forza, you'd watch it on YouTube, and seeing a 3-seater UFO-looking car, it's definitely something special. And I remember seeing my first one at Wilton Classic, I think it was like 2013, and I told Dad, I was like, what is this, you know? And it was next to the P1 at that time. It kind of just came out, and I was all over the F1. Not long ago, we had one of the concourses in London. 2 F1s drove on the road, and you know, you'd have every spotter's jaw just drops to the ground. Cameras stopped taking the buttons because everyone was like so gobsmacked of like, there's an F1 going past us. It's as if you're, you know, like the world has just stopped. That's the kind of car or the level it's at. Well, I say like the unicorn levels. You know, if an F1 drives past you, that's where you're like, I can retire from car spotting. So back at 2015, Goodwood, on the McLaren stand, they had the McLaren F1 GT. Now, if you was to ask spotters the ultimate car, you know, like I said, the unicorns are like Reventons, F1s. The McLaren F1 GT is the rarest of them all. I believe the Sultan of Brunei has one of them. There was one in like Japan, and then the one that McLaren looks after, and there was one on display. And sadly at the time, 5 years, well now being 6 years ago, I don't think I took it in as much of realising I will never see that car again. And I will never see that car again. It's just one of them cars where at that time I was so lucky enough and so fortunate enough to see it. But the McLaren F1 GT, if I had to probably pick or someone to tell me what's the rarest car you've seen, it has to be that. You know, that is probably priceless. I dread to think if a normal F1's around, say, 20 million, the GT I could only imagine to be a lot more, but just because I only made 3, and one that will probably never come out of the Sultan of Brunei collection, and there's a saying about him, he's owned numerous amount of F1s, I think the F1 GT is probably the rarest car I've ever seen. Okay, so once again, back out in Monaco, around August time again, the Arabs would come over, showcase their cars. They normally start off in Monaco, go to Cannes, go to Paris, and then London. It changes over the years. Normally they'd come to London around June, July, August, then go to Cannes and Monaco. I think maybe with the pandemic, they've left London quite late this year, normally around winter time. But I was out in Monaco middle of August, and Adrian Sutil, ex-F1 driver, he owns Monaco in the hypercar sense. You know, he's got the Gembala Mirage GT, he's got the Enzo, the LaFerrari Aperta, the Centenaire Veyron. You know, he's got the proper rare ones, he's got the Wira. And there's one car I really wanted to see that he owns, and it's the Mercedes-Benz Sterling Moss. Now, I've only seen one at the Mercedes-Benz World Museum in the UK. This car's only been seen once. This was again when the F1 was on in Monaco again in May. And I thought, you know, if I had to pick a car to see, it'd be that one. So all of us mates are spotting at the hairpin in Monaco, and get a phone call. And my mate was just like, just run to this hotel. Didn't even tell me what car it was. We're all running. And that's when my heart starts beating, because I know it's going to be something along the lines of that's going to make the trip. This is the second night of 7 days out there. And I thought, don't be a joke. You know, us mates being spotters, we do like to say like a certain car's out and it's not. And I could see in the distance the Sterling Moss, and I thought, oh my God. Seeing that parked up, again, no roof, no windshield, such an iconic car to see. And again, you'll never see one driving. This day and age, no one drives that kind of car unless you're in Monaco and you're Adrian Sutil. And that's why it's like the coolest thing ever, going to places like that, because there is a chance, a very small chance, you might come across a car like that. With my luck, if there's spotting, I got to see a Sterling Moss drive on the road. I think I stayed out until at least 1 in the morning just to see him leave. You know, he'd put his hand up. You know, I had a massive grin on my face. Yeah, that was quite incredible to see, and still hasn't sunk in yet, because again, saying I go to Monaco quite a lot, I feel like I've seen like the top car out there. Maybe again one day I'll see the Zonda LH, but I think the Sterling Moss is, I think that's the best car they've got out there. But no, I have been lucky, but there's still certain cars I'd like to see in the future. The Gembala Mirage GT, the Porsche Carrera GT on steroids as they call it, that is still a car I need to see, one of 25 in the world. In the UK, we did have one come over 2 years ago. Funny enough, I was actually out in Dubai at the time where it was originally from. I missed it, but you never know in the future. You never know with all these spots. But I think looking back now with all these cars I've seen, I think if I was to pick one car on the streets, it would have to be a CLK GTR. Hoping one day I'll see it, but you never know.
We'd like to thank the Ticket Clinic for supporting VINwiki this month. When you get a ticket, no matter where it happens, you're risking points on your license, costly fines, insurance premium increases, and risks of suspension or jail time. So it's more important than ever to have great representation. The Ticket Clinic is a nationwide law firm that can help you fight a ticket no matter where you get it. It's easier than ever to start a relationship with them. You'll just take your ticket, snap a picture of it, and text that picture to 305-305. You can also reach them at the link in the description below to thank them for their support of VINwiki and fight your ticket with the Ticket Clinic.